many racetracks around the world that carry the name recognition that Watkins Glen International does.
So much history for motor racing around here.
Green flag out racing at Watkins Glen. 3.45 miles in length and all kinds of elevation changes.
They're too wide, 2x2x2.
Incredibly aggressive driving right now.
These are real beasts of cars to drive.
That 5.2-liter V10 normally aspirated engine, 620 horsepower. These things absolutely just scream.
When you release the raging bulls onto this racetrack, as a fan, as a spectator, you know you're going to see some great action.
Look around the outside at turn 6. Wow.
Lamborghini and Watkins Glen, you put those together and you have one heck of a show. And the fans are on hand to get a show today. 41 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s lining up here for today's race. Race number 5 of the season. Welcome to Watkins Glen International and Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Welcome in, everyone. Brian Till along with Ryan Marine will have all the action for you. And Ryan, I am sure there will be plenty of it. This is hallowed ground for motorsports in general. Formula One has run here, IndyCar has run here, but it really is the home of sports car racing.
No question about it. One of the great circuits on the continent with so much history going back to 1956. In fact, racing in this part of the country through the country roads and city streets goes back even further to 1948. But this track opened up in the mid-50s. A look at some of the iconic names, the inner loop, the outer loop, the boot with the heel and the toe, and some great opportunities to get passing done. Turn 1, the inner loop, and turn 8, 3 of the best. Elevation change aplenty. In short, this place is a classic.
No better word for it. An absolute classic. It's why the teams, the drivers love it. It's why the fans love to watch it. In Lamborghini Super Trofeo, we've got 4 different classes of drivers, I should say. Not cars. They're all the same car. And in those classes, the championships are red hot. Let's talk Pro Class, where Will Bamber is on top of the championship right now, but it has not been easy. Let's go back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. At the pit stop, 33 car leaves pit lane with Darius Trinka on board, and it doesn't make it past turn 3. A broken axle, and their championship hopes look like they were dashed. 0 points, Ryan, on the day.
That was a huge setback for them, but they bounced back in a big way, coming back in race number 2, and tell you what, that really changed things coming into Watkins Glen. We've got ourselves quite the championship battle, especially in the Pro Class. When you factor in the point for pole, top 3 are separated by 1 point, including second and third being tied here coming into this race.
And it's just been a seesaw that Laguna Seca round, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It looked like Elias De La Torre was going to be sitting pretty with the problems that Bamber had in round 1 of the weekend, but then he too scored 0 points the next day, and it has kept it tight. Just look at that.
Oh, unbelievable, super close, and we've had the added drama of teams and drivers switching around. It's like watching a live version of Hot Seat, basically, right? trying to figure out who's going to sit where, and then next thing you know, the music stops and the chair's gone. But that's added a little bit of spice to the championship battle, and some new faces actually into the mix here this weekend too, which could change things up even more.
Oh, absolutely. Daniel Morad behind the wheel of the 29, sharing that car with Elias De La Torre. And I spoke to him yesterday, and he said, yes, the car's a little bit different, but I've driven things similar to it, so I've got some basic concept of how I'm going to need to race it. But it is hot today. That's the other thing, Ryan. 109-degree track temperature right now. And I'll tell you what, these hand-cooked tires are going to get punished here in this 50-minute event.
And no tire changes during the pit stops here. So if you're driver 1, you need to make sure you save a little something for driver 2, because if you don't today, the shoe's on the other foot tomorrow.
Daniel Morad on pole in that bright orange and black number 29 from TR3 Racing alongside Danny Formal, the points leader in the Pro-Am category. That beautiful black number 1 out of Wayne Taylor Racing Stables, and they are lined up ready to go. The way to tell the differences in the classes, that little triangle in the windscreen up top, driver's right, you'll see the different colors there. Also a little rectangle on the rear bumper. Other than that, the cars are identical and the racing is about to get hot. Lined up for the start. Morad, this is new for him. He's started in IMSA before, so the process isn't new. It's just the class, and he really slows the field down, gets a good jump. Flag is out, and I'm looking at cars in the back that have spread out before the line. That might be a problem. We'll see what the officials have to say, but first you've got to make it through turn one. You got cars 3 abreast.
Oh, we talk about it as a potential pinch point. 3 wide, 4 wide, a couple of cars up and over the curbs using every bit of paved space, but so far so good. That's the first hold your breath moment, but we're roaring towards the next one, which is the inner loop.
Down to the inner loop. Track limits are going to be important here this weekend as well. There are multiple places where you can exceed those. Not so much here at the inner loop, but at least 9 cars in the first qualifying session had laps taken away because of it, because this is how tight the racing gets, and sometimes you need to use every bit of asphalt that's out there. Down into the boot.
Jaden Conright there picking up a spot. I think he might have been fighting with Ernie Francis, who's back in the championship for the first time since the season opening weekend at Sebring. So nice work there. That's back just inside the top 10 overall. But for Morad, this is the way that you want your debut to go. Put the car on pole, control the start, and pull away. It's been picture perfect so far.
Well, you think about it too, it's for Daniel Morad. He doesn't know the car and tire all that well. He's got the lead right now. I'll tell you what, Will Bamber in the 33 trying to hold on to the spot that he's got, but he's got to think about championship and where he is and where he wants to be at season's end. Right now, Gianno Torino aboard the 88, that beautiful green and black Lamborghini, giving Will Bamber fits as they head into turn 10.
He is. Those two have crossed each other over a couple of times. Right now, Torino gets the better of Bamber, slips on through in that bright green machine. So that is 3rd place overall, or that's how they started at least. They've actually gotten shuffled back, I think, at least 1 position. We'll check it here in a second. Torino, yep, it is up to 3rd overall. 2nd in class. Bamber has to settle in there just behind and try and get back in his rhythm.
I think the key, though, is settle in. I was just going to say that about Daniel Morad. He doesn't know the car and tire combination all that well, and what matters is to be leading at the end of the 50 minutes. You said it before we dropped the green flag. You've got to make sure you leave a car to hand over to your teammate, and that's really the unknown right now for Daniel Morad. He's not sure just how much wear he's going to get out of these hand-cooked tires, and he wants to make sure he has a car to hand over to Elias De La Torre.
Now that will be part of the learning curve for him here over the course of this weekend. Had some rain yesterday, so not sure just how much time in conditions like these that Daniel's been able to have in the car. As we said, he's not raced it before, so everything's going to be a little bit new for him. And Mother Nature threw an additional curveball into his and the team's planning with the rain that was here just 1 day ago.
Who is having things their way is the 2nd car in the shot, that beautiful black number 10 of Danny Vermael as they flash by. Vermael leading the championship in the Pro-Am category, and right now he's got 3 Pro-Class cars behind him, so he has no one in his class that's really kind of giving him fits right now, and that's a comfortable place for him to be.
Right, and this is where he's accustomed to being as well. They're undefeated on the season, Graham Doyle and Danny Vermael, and Danny has the fastest race lap in each of the first 4 races. That's in class, and I think that the vast majority, if not all of them, have been the fastest race lap overall. So strong has he been here this season as he's going for his 4th championship in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America competition, a 3-time Pro Class champion. This time, though, this year in the Pro-Am class, teamed up with Doyle, a champion in his own right, but that was down in the lower classes.
Impressed with the pace that Gianno Torino has been able to show going it alone this weekend, and that has some difficulties of its own, not only because of the weather conditions that we have right now, but in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, mandatory pit stop in that, we'll call it halfway 10-minute window in this race. But if you're a single driver, using that single driver format that you're allowed to do, your pit stop is going to have to be 3 seconds longer than every other competitor who's doing multiple drivers, or 2 drivers, I should say. You're not going to use more than 2, obviously, but in that 2-driver format. And so for Torino, he needs to put some distance between himself and Will Bamber, and perhaps Bamber knows, hey, if I hold on to the back of the 88 in front of me right now, on the pit stop, if we do it right, we're going to leapfrog him on the race or in the pit lane.
Right, that's got to be in the back of Will's mind, but with that in mind, he doesn't like seeing car 29 disappearing off into the distance. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? How hard do you want to push here at this stage, knowing this position is likely to change in the pits, but it's not the ultimate position that he's searching for. As for Torino, this has been a season of what-ifs. The car's been pretty quick. They've had moments when they have flashed some championship caliber strength. We've seen him win a title before back in 2024, but they really don't have a big result to show for it. Best finish this season, P5 in race number 1 of the doubleheader at Laguna Seca.
Well, speaking of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, you and I both know anything can happen. We were just talking about that, the broken axle on the 33. So 29 may be scurrying away a little bit, but I'm wondering what kind of car Gianno Torino has underneath him right now. Able to leap towards the front, get past Bamber early on, but it looks to me like perhaps pressures are really coming up and maybe a little higher than what he wants them to be right now. The car seems nervous at turn in some of these corners, especially turn 10. Just watching it the last lap, that first little movement between the turn-in point and about halfway to the apex, the car does not look happy.
I'd agree. Comparing the two, Bamber's car looks a bit more compliant. Impressive young team, X09 Motorsports, with support from Lamborghini of Chicago. All of these teams matched up with Lamborghini dealerships across the country, and there are various incentives for the dealerships to be involved and support the race teams. But fun little battle here between these two, and it does seem like Bamber's car right here at this stage in the race at least is a bit more comfortable. But even if he does have a bit of pace in hand, not the easiest thing to get around a championship caliber driver like Torino.
No, it's not. And you just kind of look to the future, though, with 43 minutes to go, 7 minutes into this race. If your car is beginning to go away already, and right there, Gianno Torino seems to have a difficult time getting the car in through turn 9 where that elevation change happens. And here's where it was nervous a couple of laps ago, really settled that entry down a little bit. But if it's already going away, that does not make you feel good about the next 42 minutes and change that you've got to run.
No, it doesn't. And just looking at the lap times, clearly they have dropped off for this group here. Torino's running in the high 48s now. Compare that to Daniel Morad, who just did the fastest lap of the race at a 146.8. That's a massive gulf between these two. And that has to add to the frustration for Bamber, who I suspect feels like if he could get around Torino, he might have a car that's quick enough to match some of the times we're seeing from Morad and Formal.
Well, and I wonder, again, how fast is too fast, right? I mean,
right.
I'll go back to what Daniel Morad doesn't know. What he does know is how to drive a race car incredibly well. Championship winning, Rolex 24 winning race car driver, races all over the world. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's got his sim life that he spends a lot of time doing, racing on the sim and also selling products there through his Moradness brand. But what he doesn't know is this car. And to some extent, I sit and look at it and go, that's enough. You know, that lead right there is enough. And you don't want to get comfortable to the point that you're slowing down too much, but you've got to have something to hand over to your teammate. It is hot here, and you mentioned about the elevation change, Ryan. This racetrack is brutal on tires, the loads that it puts through it, especially in this heat.
Yeah, a lot of high-speed corners here that last quite a long time as well, so you do put quite a bit of strain onto the Hancooks in this championship, so that's something that he's going to have to manage. We really should mention why Daniel's here in the first place. He's here to help support Elias De La Torre as part of that championship battle that we talked about early on. Elias has had a couple of different co-drivers already this season, including Will Bamber, and Bamber switched teams going into the second round of the championship, but his expected teammate Dennis Lind is on Spa 24 duty, so that opened up the door for Morad to jump in.
Yeah, great opportunity with a great team, and the one off the pace. This car did not set a time in the second qualifying session. It was a mechanical issue there, and for Nick Persing, I'm wondering if that mechanical issue has reared its head again.
Now this is big. This is another one of those Pro Class Championship contenders that were all within a point. 3 groups within a point. Persing and Hampus Eriksson who comes in here, Hampus does, as the reigning champion, gets paired up with Persing this year, and they've been really strong, got their first win of the season at Laguna Seca, but something does appear to be amiss, and sadly, as you point out, not for the first time this weekend.
Well, Gianno Torino had a problem in the second qualifying as well. He too had a mechanical issue, did not set a time. So this racetrack, we talk about the loads that it puts through the car. If you hammer curbs, you can certainly damage suspension components, and you got to stay off of those curbs when the tires are cold as well when you first go out before the pressure builds. But there seems to be no rush to take care of the number one.
Wow, that tells you about all you need to know. If the crew's not in a hurry to get anything done, that would indicate that it doesn't seem likely that they think that car's getting back out. Other problems here, this is the 95, the Fly Alliance car, that's in the pit lane. One thing that should be noted is there's a lot of curb usage around this track. That's Chris Tasca, by the way, behind the wheel. And some behind the usable curbs, there's some pretty steep pyramids, I guess you'd call them, right, that are there to dissuade drivers from exceeding track limits. But all it takes is a slight misjudgment, or maybe even being side by side with somebody and being forced out wide, and you can hit some of these really significant pyramid curbs, or whatever you want to call them, and that has the potential to do some damage to the cars. And I can't say definitively, but I do wonder if that might be what we're seeing rearing its head here, with a couple of cars making their way down pit lane.
The curious one is the number one, because they didn't even open the door to talk to the driver. They're just having the conversation through the window. For Chris Tasca aboard the 95, he has had an up and down season. I mean, he had such bad luck at Sebring. I don't think he scored points in either one of those races. He was just beaten and battered the entire time, but had a pole there, minimal points in those two races, I should say, and then rebounded at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca with 2 podium finishes and a pole there, and now the bad luck has returned for him. So not the way he wants to see the day go. But you were talking about those curbs, very hard on ball joints on the suspension, also hard on the rod ends and stuff. So you got to think about the amount of curb you want to use, especially in that inner loop.
Yeah, and that's where there's time to be gained from being aggressive with the curb. But how much risk do you want to take? Because you catch one of those wrong just one time, and it can have pretty significant consequences for you. Keep in mind that NASCAR runs here at this track, and to dissuade a NASCAR stock car from using curbs, it does have to be pretty aggressive. And that's not always conducive to having sports cars run over that same section of track.
No, you park a old Ford F-150 out there or something like that to keep them out of it. Otherwise, they'll run anywhere. Already a couple of penalties being handed down, one to the 22 for a false start. I think those are the cars that we saw out of line in that long shot. That's the Pro Class entry of James Lawley, so that's a drive-through penalty, and some track limits warnings to the 47. It's going to be a 3 strikes you're out policy here with track limits. You're going to get a warning, a final warning, and the third time it's going to be a post-race time penalty. Fourth time is going to be a drive-through. So the officials really looking at it, and they're going to look and say, hey, are you racing with somebody? Did you get put out there? On a problem for the 19, speaking of being put out there, that's drivers left coming out of turn 10, and I almost think probably got on the curb and then hooked the car back across the racetrack. We'll have to take a look and see if anyone else was involved. But disappointment here for Boucher.
Yeah, Mathieu Boucher found that inside wall there. He's trying to move his mirror back, and maybe that's to make sure he knows what he's potentially going to back up into here in a few moments. For now, we stay green, but I'm sure Race Control's taking a close look at this to gauge whether or not that car is still mobile. Can he get it back to the pit lane? Wouldn't have too far to go, and hopefully they can find a way to cover for this, let him get back to the pits and not make a yellow come out, a full course yellow come out that could have an impact on the race.
Yeah, disappointment there, and see the AM designation on that number 19, and if you've been following, you would say, well, wait a minute, he's in Pro-Am. Well, typically he is, and he co-drives with Kyle Marcelli, but we were talking about drivers being over at the Spa 24. That's where Kyle Marcelli is this weekend. So for Mathieu Boucher, he is going it alone, another one of those single driver format cars that's entered here this weekend.
This is tough for him. He's trying to get to the pits. Yep. This is a look at what happened. You're
Yep.
right. Just got up over the curb and the car swapped ends with him, and that's not insignificant contact there. Thankfully, it's with a tire bundle, and that prevented it from being any more significant of an incident.
And you see the car rolling back across the racetrack. He gets in the brakes right at the end and kind of slaps the wall. I don't know if we're going to have suspension damage from that, but certainly the body work is going to be a mess. And I would think those hand coupe tires have a nice flat spot on every one of them with the big slide across the racetrack. The tires don't really lock up all that much with the anti-lock braking system that's in these cars, but you get that little bit of lockup from time to time, and that can certainly create a flat spot. Back up front.
Sorry, Brian. How about this statement from Daniel Morad here? To put the car on pole, first ever weekend at Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and he has pulled away from the field to the tune of 11.3 seconds. That's unbelievable.
But I'll tell you what, look in the cockpit the next time you get a shot of him, and right behind him, Danny Formal doing the same thing, and that is, watch his hands on the wheel. His eyes move, his hands follow, and his hands are very smooth. The one thing that Daniel Morad is not doing right now is fast hands, pitching and catching with the car. He's nice and smooth with his inputs. And if you're going to get those hand coupe tires to survive the punishment that this 3.4 miles worth of racetrack throws at it, you need to be smooth with your hands. And that's the one thing that I'm seeing him doing right now. And also, you know what? Smooth is fast.
It is. You're taught that early on going through racing school, and Morad certainly would have that down pat by this point in his illustrious career. So much success the world over. First in single-seaters, and then has carved out a really nice GT racing career for himself, and has become kind of a Swiss Army knife for this TR3 team. If they have an opening, if they have a need, they can kind of just chuck him in, and they know he's going to go fast when given the opportunity. Case in point, what he's done here so far this weekend.
Well, and he doesn't have anything to prove. His resume that he's built, you've mentioned it, is proof already. He doesn't need to go out there and risk or anything else. When he shows up, he's very professional, he's very likable, he gets in the car, he drives it, very technical, can help you with setup on the car and all of that, goes about his job in a very professional manner, the professional that he is, and result is what you see right here, right now, kind of putting on a clinic, like you said it, huge lead over Gianno Torino aboard the 88. Car right behind him with Danny Formal, we see that 10 hanging there in the background, and it's one of those deals where for Formal, he knows that the car in front of him is not in class, and the nearest class car for Danny Formal is Kiwan Tandon, back in the 6th position overall, 2nd in Pro-Am, but there are 3 Pro Class cars between the 10 and the 77.
And Tandon is carrying 2 track limit strikes already. He's on the final warning for that car, so that makes their day a bit more complicated, trying to come back up perhaps in the 2nd stint in the fight for the Pro-Am victory. But yeah, you know, that's a really good point about Formal hanging there with Morad, keeping pace with Morad. When I said Morad was 11 seconds clear of the field, that wasn't true. It was 11 seconds clear of the next car in his class. But the pace out of Formal has been outstanding.
Problem right now for the number 40 out of Alliance Racing. Jack Miller and Angelo Dinkov share that car. It's Dinkov in it right now. You see that telltale flame out of the exhaust pipe. Not at all uncommon to see as you get a lot of raw fuel dumped into the exhaust system when you're trying to get it restarted. That fuel burns off, so you see that fire. But right now, trying to get that Lamborghini back under power to get out of the way. You don't like sitting there, especially when your driver's door is facing the direction the traffic is coming from.
That is unsettling for sure for Angelo here, who will be reliant on a corner work or two to know when it's safe to pull forward, assuming he can get that thing refired. Being on the incline doesn't help matters either. He and Jack William Miller best finished this season 5th. They have 3 6th place finishes. And following well down the order, unfortunately, here with this incident.
Well, the problem for race control is the pit window should open in about 35 seconds if we're not full course caution. And it can take over a minute to restart one of these very sophisticated cars. There's a lot of control, alt, delete, reset that has to go on. And for an official, I'm sure they're sitting there going, Can he get this thing going or not? We don't want to go full course caution. If we do, it closes the pit window, but they're going to have to make a decision here in the next 10 seconds.
And they made that decision. Took them less than that 10 seconds, Brian. They don't like where that car is. They've given it as much of a chance as possible to get moving. And this comes at an interesting time, like you point out, with the pit window it was about to open up. And so that changes. That will get pushed with the full course yellow now. But it takes away that big advantage that Morad has built, that Formal has built. Really changes the complexion of this race looking ahead to the second half.
Todd Snyder, who is the race director, and everyone that works in race control here with IMSA, really on top of the ball, and they gave that 40 car every chance in the world to get it restarted. The last thing in the world I'm sure they wanted to do was call that full course caution. Absolutely the right thing to do because the car's still sitting there, but it's just, I can only imagine the tension in that room. Should we? Are we? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Can they? Can they? Can they? And they're on the radio with pit officials who are standing there in the pits with that team going, what is the driver saying? We need some information from the driver so we can make our decisions. And Todd right on it, gets it done. And of course, as soon as you go full course caution and you get the crew out there, they get the car refired and drive away. But in the end, obviously the decision was the correct one to make.
Yep. Didn't have much of a choice.
No.
That car was in a perilous spot, and safety has to come first. So they make that call. That the word has been given to us that the pit window has been pushed back because of this full course yellow. The good news is it should be a short full course yellow. But as I mentioned, it's bad news for those that had a big lead built up. It's also tough news, I think, for anyone driving as a solo driver and having with a longer pit stop coming because, again, any gap that you had built that you could have used to weather having a longer pit stop, that now goes out the window here as well.
But I think about this for the 29, the TR3 squad. If Daniel Morad used up a fair amount of that Hankook rubber to get where he was, this is actually good for him. It allows the tires to get cooled back down. I think being on point and being up there that they're going to really want to know, hey, is this going to be the full length window when it does open? And if so, you're going to leave Daniel Morad, I would think, in the car for as long as you can. He's been so quick, so comfortable in it. Give him 2 or 3 laps to build you up a little bit more of a gap. Obviously, Torino is now going to be up there in the mix because he's going to be right behind Formal on the start. And Giano is going to have to sit in pit lane for 3 seconds longer, right? So I would leave Morad in the car for as long as I possibly could to see if I can gain some more advantage. Lights out on the safety car. Are we going green this time by? In that camera shot, I did not see it. Not this time.
To the strategy conversation, Brian, I like where your head's at. The only risk you take with that, though, is if your rivals do pit early in the window and then a yellow comes out, you could find yourself getting shuffled down the order as a consequence. That's the risk of running long. But to maximize Daniel's pace makes some sense to me. I guess the only counterpoint is Elias De La Torre is no slouch. He's pretty quick too.
No.
So that gives you the flexibility strategically if you wanted to come in early and put Elias in. You're not really compromising a whole lot in terms of pace, putting Elias in instead of Daniel.
No, I agree, and I'll go to the lights out on the safety car. He was not in the shot, and it looked like they were coming for the restart. And I guess when I think about it, he didn't even have a chance to catch the field that first time by. So my thought would be is that if there's going to be a full course caution, we say this a lot, cautions breed cautions, right? And so obviously this racetrack has its challenges. I think if you're going to get one, it's going to be on the first lap. And so you're either, and if you get one and there's any chance at all, if there's a spin, there's a crash in turn 1 on the restart or down at the toe of the boot, you dive to the pit lane, because if they don't go yellow instantly, you get in and get it done. If you come out of turn 9 on the first lap and there's no yellow, I think you leave him out for a lap or 2.
Makes some sense to me, and we'll see what the rest of the pit lane thinks. That's the challenge that they have here. You wonder how much strategy can there really be in one of these relatively short sprint races. You've got one pit window that everyone has to pit within. But actually, there are quite a few decisions that the teams need to make, especially in races like this that have the full course yellow fall right around that pit window.
So that was Mark Miller standing there talking with his Wayne Taylor crew there. He'll climb aboard the number 41 and take over for Paul Nimshoff. Talk about somebody who's been wicked fast. That's Mark Miller all season long. Every time he's gotten his turn to qualify the car, he's put it on pole in class. Just wicked fast. Former Trans Am champion, runs in different series around the world. And another one of those guys. It shows you just how much talent is in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series. I mean, it is deep. You and I have talked about this before, I would say years ago. Obviously, the fields weren't nearly as large, but the racing has attracted a special group of people, both professionals and drivers who want to do it just for fun. And that is what has brought us 41 car fields like we have here this weekend.
It's awesome. And it starts with the car. This Huracan Super Trofeo car is a phenomenal car to drive. Everyone you talk to up and down the paddock just has a grin when you ask, well, what's it like to drive one of these cars? And by all accounts, the new Temerario Super Trofeo car that's coming next year is going to be a blast as well. But then you think about what Lamborghini does on the hospitality side. You get to race on IMSA weekends. What's not to like?
Absolutely, and for Daniel Morad, what's not to like about this shot? Absolutely no one in front of you, green flag, get it done right now. What can you do? Look back in the shot, the bright green Lamborghini drivers, or screen left is Gianno Torino. That is the first in-class car that Daniel Morad and his group have to think about. And he got stuck in traffic a little bit, and remember, there's going to be and there's an incident there coming up through the S's. We said yellows breed yellows, and a problem side by side got pushed out wide. Is that the 27? The pit window is open.
And Jaden Conright there just got caught out. Everybody bunched up. There was a lapped car that restarted right behind Morad, and the whole field got bunched up behind coming to turn one. And that bunch up has continued through the S's. It's continuing here through the middle part of the lap as well. And it looked to me like the 27 just came flying up behind. Everybody in front checked up, had to take evasive action, got in the grass, and might have clipped the wall as well.
And remember, we talk about 4 different classes on the racetrack, all in the same car. The class designation is simply based on the experience level and the grade of the license that the driver holds. So you've got true experienced professionals like Daniel Morad, who have won the Rolex 24 and other big races, and then drivers without a lot of experience. Interestingly enough, the 27 certainly has a lot of experience and just gets pushed out wide, like you said.
Yeah, and again, it all starts with some of these fast front runners catching a lap car that was restarting out of position as far as overall order is concerned. But, you know, we're stuck there when the full course yellow came out, and a couple more problems here. 57 and 72, that's Grote, front runner in Am in the 57, and Peterson in the 72. At least one's been able to continue on, and with the pit window open, we've got cars coming to the pit lane, which might be smart given the amount of chaos that we've seen.
Well, it's exactly what I said. If you get to turn 9 or 10 and the racetrack is clean, stay out. If it's not, you pit, and I think that's exactly what they did with the 29. They were like, hey, just saw this crash in the S's. There's one in the heel of the boot. Get in right now. Daniel Morad in. Interestingly enough, who else comes in with him? Formal stays on the racetrack, so does Bamber. I believe the 88 is in as well, Gianno Torino. So I think that was the right call. When you look at you got to take the pulse of the race, right, Ryan? And the pulse right then was through the roof. Call it 170, 180 beats a minute. So the pulse said, come to pit lane.
Right, I think it's the gamble to stay out to a degree, but for Bamber, I like this because this gets them out of traffic for the first time all race. They had been stuck behind Torino, and it seemed like Bamber had some pace in hand by staying out a lap or two more. If he can put in some quick laps here, plus we know Torino's going to have a slower pit stop because he's a single driver and by regulation has to have a slower pit stop. This should help put the 33 ahead. I would bring them in this lap, though, to cover off a potential yellow. There goes Torino, service done, and that car back out.
Yeah, I agree 110% there, Ryan. I think now's the time to do it. Like you said, here's your opportunity. You got a clean racetrack. I'll take this gamble, but I don't want to gamble any further than that. Go give me a qualifying lap, see what you can do, and then get that car in. Meanwhile, Danny Vermael stays on the racetrack.
Yeah, and look, that's to be expected with these Pro-Am cars. You have a decision as a team. You can decide who you want your driver 1 and driver 2 to be. Most teams are starting their pro in the Pro-Am lineups. Danny Vermael certainly fits the bill, and so they're going to want to maximize his speed and maximize his time on track. So I expect them to go long, but again, that could potentially leave them a little bit vulnerable.
Take a look down in the heel of the boot. The 57 is in there, and then the 72 just comes flying in and gets the right rear, and around they go. So that X09 entry, the 72, is the one that really kind of looks like, to me anyway, Ryan, created the problem there in the heel of the boot.
I'll defer to you as the professional race control steward that you are, race director that you are.
Oh, you left me standing out on the island all by myself.
You walked onto the island, Brian. You didn't need my help.
Where are your friends when you need them? For Danny Vermael, they're not in the way, and that's a beautiful thing. So he is underway and continuing to put those laps in, and we talked about it. A little bit of a gamble for them, but not much. Graham Doyle also going to do his job when he takes over for Vermael. The question is, how much longer is the pit window going to be open? Because it can be reduced a little bit if it's moved late in the race because of a full course caution. So we'll see if it's open for the entire 10 minutes that it normally is. And for Vermael, this lap is the one where he is coming in and will hand over to Graham Doyle.
I think that makes some sense because his advantage kind of goes away here anyway, because he was catching cars that had made pit stops. He was going to have to deal with some traffic. So at that point, if you're not going to be able to turn in really quick laps and take advantage of running long, you might as well cover for the yellow, get in, and let Graham Doyle do his thing. Vermael built up a nice solid lead in the class, and Doyle certainly is a capable driver, former champion, as I mentioned earlier, in a different class before, and he'll do the rest from here.
So you're running with a great team, Wayne Taylor Racing, who certainly knows how to win in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, and you've won the first 4 races of the year. How comfortable are you when you show up to Watkins Glen?
I mean, you have to be brimming with confidence, right? To turn up and know that you've been the car to beat, not, just at every race so far. And the fact that Vermael's been able to have the fastest race lap overall, not even talking about in class, more often than not so far this year. That tells you they've got that car in a great window. The two drivers are working well together. Clearly, they must like the same things out of the car where they can turn up and be quick on a given weekend, and that's so confidence-inspiring.
Interesting, too, as much as they have dominated Vermael and Doyle in the Pro-Am class as far as wins go, there had been no repeat pole winners until today's race, and they were the first to repeat with a pole position. Well, I shouldn't say that. Mark Miller had done it. So, but they hadn't been so fast in qualifying. Miller, we talked about him having 3 poles in the Pro-Am class, but this was only the 2nd pole of the year for the 10 squad. So I found that interesting. You don't always have to be fast in qualifying to be the race winner, and I think that shows you the mindset that team has. We're not going to go risk a car in qualifying. We want to win races. We want to make sure we've got a good car to race with.
Speaking of one of the Millers, actually, this is a different Miller. Joel Miller comes in from the overall lead of the race. Kaizen Autosport. Great paint scheme on the car here this weekend. iHeartRadio on the side of it, kind of lightning bolt inspired, really sharp. And Joel ran pretty long, about as long as he could, it looked like, before this window closes. I think just about everybody should be coming in here, and this broke pretty well for them, letting him extend this stint as long as he did. That yellow wasn't exactly what they wanted strategically, but they've been able to reset, and having Joel run long here should set them up nicely.
And Miller, another one of those drivers who has so much experience, and you were giving me grief about being in race control. Joel Miller is a steward with several of the open wheel series over the last several years, the Road to Indy series and things like that. And I think that's great when you are working with a driver who is on their way up, who's just learning their craft, you can teach them not only about the nuances of driving the car, but the experiences of what does and what doesn't work in traffic, what will and won't get you into trouble. It makes you a better race car driver.
It's a great point. Joel's teamed up with Andrew Heffering, who's a Radical Cup champion, been a strong contender in Radicals over the years, and I think those two, they haven't had a big result yet, but I feel like that day is coming before too much longer.
We look at how tight it is in the pro category, and then obviously we were talking about the dominance in the win department for Formal and Doyle in Pro-Am, but in LB Cup and in AM, it is unbelievably competitive. No repeat winners in AM or in LB Cup, so it's just kind of been a rotating wheel, so to speak, as to who gets to stand up on top of the podium each weekend. It's been, competition has been absolutely awesome. And look at this right now, down out of the inner loop. You got to think about who you're racing with. Elias De La Torre needs to understand that the car just in front of him is not for position. The problem is the car third in line is.
Yeah, so that was the reason to get on the move there for De La Torre, getting around now. That's Graham Doyle in the car that Formal started. And so we'll see if what Formal does here. Is the door open for the X09 car to get by? It looks like he's going to have to fight for it. Certainly made it difficult here. Two cars again in different classes, but this is shaping up to be the battle for the lead once everything cycles through. Trinca now chasing down De La Torre.
And I'll tell you what, he got held up a little bit there by the 10 of Graham Doyle, and as soon as Johann Schwartz hits pit lane in the AM category, the overall lead goes back to Elias De La Torre in the 29. This is going to be good. 13 minutes and change left to go from Watkins Glen, and for Darius Trinca, he knows he needs to chase down that 29 just in front. A problem for the 81 there. Heavy braking zone into the heel of the boot in the 81 around.
That's Ian Porter. The car was 5th at the time, I believe, in the Pro-Am class, and he'll need to get that sorted. Look at what happened. Ooh, there was definitely some help.
Then makes contact. I tell you, I was so impressed with Ian Porter watching him in VP Racing Sports Car Challenge. This is another huge step up. You think about moving from a GT4 based car to this Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, 620 horsepower, and this Lamborghini is a rocket ship in a straight line with not a lot of downforce on it. Obviously, it's a very aerodynamic car. It is more than likely the fastest GT car here this weekend in a straight line, because those GT3 based cars in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship carry more downforce. Downforce is drag, and so I think for Ian, the step into Lamborghini has been a big one, and doesn't help when you get kind of moved around in a brake zone from behind.
He's told me as much, that this has been a massive learning curve for him. Still very new to racing, but we've told the story before. He's a multi-time world champion Call of Duty player that had an interest in motorsports, got into it through sim racing, then went Porsche Sprint Challenge racing a couple of years ago, won a title there, into VP Challenge, won a Bronze Cup title a year ago, was second overall in GT4. It's all come pretty naturally to him, quite frankly, in his motorsports career until here. And that is, it was illustrative of what you were saying, what a big step this is for him to jump into such a high-power race car like this Super Trofeo machine.
Oh, and now a problem for the 4. That's into the toe of the boot. And late in this race, I think temperatures are getting not only warm on the racetrack, but warm in the cockpit. We're starting to see mistakes. The question is, will Elias De La Torre make one? Because I believe the 33 may be the better car right now.
It's looking like it. Starting to close in. Darius Trinca now within a second. That's really heartbreaking, though, for Tommy Gore, who went on the spin there a moment ago. That was a car that was in podium contention, was third in class at the time, and if he had been able to finish there, it would have been 4 straight podiums for Tommy Gore. But dropped way down to 7th in class, 9th overall. That is under review. All we know right now is an incident involving car 4 is under review, but I think from what we saw of it, it was pretty clear that there was another car involved as well.
Tell you what, Elias De La Torre knows how to win at Watkins Glen. Won both races here last year, co-driving with who? Will Bember, that's right, who he chases in the championship. And now let's move back to this battle between the 89 and the 19. We saw the 19 with problems early on, but this is a good scrap here.
Yeah, certainly is.
Mike Fitzpatrick for the 89.
Yep, Johann Schwartz started that car. And that just goes to show, when you got 41 cars in this race, you've got battles everywhere you look. The 4 different classes basically comes down to experience level of the drivers in the lineups. The cars themselves remain the same, but each of the classes hotly contested. A lot of bragging rights up for grabs.
Tell you what, you know who else knows how to win at Watkins Glen? It's the driver of the 99 right there, Rocky T. Bulldog, aboard that 99. He won here last year in race number 2, and he wants to stay in the fight in the championship in LB Cup. Sits second right now, only 2 points behind Touchette. And this is going to be big if he can hold down this spot for the next 8.5 minutes or so.
I believe that win for Rocky here in race 2 last year was his first
I
career
agree.
win, and went on to win 2 more times at Misano in the season finale, then got a win earlier this year at Sebring. So the wins have started to come there, but he's going to have to fight for it right now. Not too far ahead of Touchette, who's done a pretty good job here in this race today.
Yeah, you look at those 2 drivers, both have a win so far this season. They each have 2 other podiums. Touchette has 2 second places. Rocky has a 2nd and a 3rd. And tell you what, it's Rocky's poles that have helped keep him close. He has 2 poles on the season, and Touchette has none. So qualifying is important because you do get 1 extra point for the pole position, and those can definitely add up throughout a 12-race season.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about championship gaps in some of these classes of just a couple of points here or there, and so, yeah, pole can make all the difference in the world. Right now, to the front of the field again, Elias De La Torre was under some pressure not so long ago, Brian. It's still pretty close, less than 0.7 of a second between the top 2. Comparing the lap times over the last 3 laps, there's not much between the 2 of them, but it does seem like the gap is opening up ever so slightly, and the pressure is dropping commensurately.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's kind of back and forth, right? Because the lap before the one they just completed, Trinca was about 0.2 of a second faster than De La Torre. That last lap they just completed, De La Torre is 1/10 of a second faster than Trinca. So 2 very similar race cars right now. The pace is right there, and I would think that what Darius Trinca would like to see is some traffic in front of him. Get me some help, because I don't seem to be able to really do it on my own. And just in front of Elias De La Torre, as they head down into the laces of the boot and towards the toe, I think I did see a car in that camera shot. Indeed, there are a couple of them at least. What will Trinca be able to do with the traffic?
We've seen already traffic had a part to play in the incident that happened right after the restart, and there's going to be some more traffic here before it's all said and done. De La Torre wasting no time to get on the headlight flasher button, make sure the traffic knows he's coming, and I'm sure the teams will let the drivers know. All right, battle for the overall lead is coming through, and by and large, drivers they try to be as aware of that as possible and not impact it. However, there are some places around this track there's no place you can go, not much you can do, and traffic has its part to play, no doubt.
Absolutely, and I'm wondering where De La Torre is going to catch the car in front. It may very well be in the S's. If he doesn't get him down the front straightaway, he'll have to try it in the brake zone for turn 1. That's going to slow you down because you're not on the preferred line. Lights flashing on the Lamborghini that your leader, Elias De La Torre, is in right now. And now a problem for another one of the competitors. That is the 88. And we talked about this earlier. A good return on a single driver format this weekend for Gianno Torino, but a lot of smoke off the left rear. It's like he's made contact and has some tire rub. Indeed, he does have contact. He gets hit from behind from the 7. But I'm wondering if there's another mechanical issue that caused Torino to have to check up there.
It's a fair question. So that was Mori, I believe, in the 7, and that car dove to pit lane immediately. Torino did not, and hopefully that's just a bodywork rub on the tire there that looks like it's mostly cleared itself. That would be ideal because Torino is in podium contention here at the moment, running a strong 3rd. He obviously would lose that and a whole lot more if he was forced to the pit lane. So what I was concerned was a bad decision to stay out on track might prove to be an inspired one. Just a little bit of smoke. I think there is still just a tiny rub, but by and large, that seems to have taken care of itself, and hopefully he's able to stay out there and get a good result today.
I'll tell you what, though, that is a huge gamble. I don't know why the speed differential was there to begin with. It's like Torino had some type of another problem before he was hit. And again, he's going it alone, so he's going to be tired in that car. The problem is it is the left rear, and that tire gets such tremendous loading on it around this racetrack. And if it is getting tire rub, the temperatures are going up. You got to wonder and worry about it being cut down. And if it gets cut down in the wrong place, it will be a bad, bad ending for Gianno Torino.
Yeah, that's true. The car looked like it took kind of a strange set there as well. I don't know if it's starting to rear its head or not. Meanwhile, leaders working through some of that traffic. I wonder though, Brian, if you're Gianno Torino, what do you want to be told, or is ignorance bliss from behind the wheel?
I don't know. If it goes in the S's, that's a problem. If it goes in the right-hander past the bus stop or the inner loop, that is a huge problem as well. Meanwhile, up front, Elias De La Torre, more traffic in front, and he's going to catch this traffic as they head down into the boot. My thought, though, is Trinka isn't close enough to do anything with it. That's going to check up De La Torre just a little bit.
Yeah, not what he wanted to see there, having to go side by side with the 72. I think that's a team car to Trinka, so wonder if, I don't think anything intentional was happening there, but you have to wonder if that factors in a little bit. 72 stays out of the way, lets Trinka come through. Don't know that anybody gained or lost anything in that interaction, though, Brian.
Yeah, that was Josh Esfahane behind the wheel of the 72. Quite the character in and of himself, and a great job he's done this weekend, but that is in the rearview mirror for these two competitors into the heel of the boot. Elias De La Torre aboard that bright orange number 29, trying to hit all of his marks, and I think he's really settled down in the car. What I see is a car that is much more smooth at entry, but this is a problem, could be a problem for everyone. The left rear tire, we talked about it going for Gianno Torino. It is done, and he is stopped on the racetrack with just over 2 minutes to go. That is at the toe of the boot.
Wow. Feel for Gianno, who had a really strong day up to that point. We saw the contact with Mori, who was given a drive-through penalty. This, though, I think is when that tire let go. Did a great job to save it. Clearly that car was trying to step out on him, was able to corral it, and then sensing the damage, just took that car back to the track and stopped it. We stay green for the moment. Under 2 minutes to go, just 2 laps to go. It'll be this lap and one more. Can they stay green? Is that car enough out of the way?
Can you cover it with a yellow and let them race around the other 3.2 miles or so worth of racetrack? And I'm sure that's the conversation right now in race control. Right now, Darius Trinka has closed the gap to just over a half a second. Last time at the line, only 7/100ths of a second quicker, though, than De La Torre. That could get him to the rear wing of the 29, but will he get it past? And this area of the racetrack is now no passing because of the stalled car for Gianno Torino, parked just to the left, right there.
Yeah, exactly. That takes away a potential spot to try and make a dive and grab the lead here. De La Torre's been awesome, though, in this stint. Morad got it started. He got in, gave up a little bit of time to Trinka, but has settled into his rhythm nicely, not flustered at all when he was under pressure. You know, when you have to worry about track limits and things like that, he's been perfect. He's not even been warned yet. So he's doing everything in his power, just needs to do it for a couple more turns on this lap and then one more lap after that.
Oh, you make it sound so easy, Ryan. You make it sound so easy. Darius Trinka trying to close down, trying to find a way to put pressure on. 0.55 seconds at the line last time by. Just over a half a second was the lead that De La Torre had. It's right at 0.7 of a second. So De La Torre able to answer back. Is there any traffic? Is there anything that Darius Trinka can do on this last lap? Or do you just look at it right now and say, we've got good points and we still have half a season to go to wrap up this championship? Let's be smart.
I think that has to be the message. No undue risk at this point. You don't want to see a car that you're fighting for a title with out in front and scoring maximum points, but still, good day all around for Trinka and Bamber here. He's still giving it all he's got, though. You can tell he's been awfully aggressive, but De La Torre has not given way, undaunted by the pressure he's faced here at his stint.
White flag is out for all of the competitors, and for De La Torre, tell you what, Trinka has closed in through the inner loop, and now they've got this area of full course caution. You've got to use extreme caution here. Make sure that you don't jeopardize anyone. The officials have left the stranded 88 there for the 2 laps. I don't say that I disagree with that call at all. Let these guys race. It's in a relatively safe spot. And for Trinka, he's got basically 2 more corners to make a move. He's closed in, but can he do anything with it?
Time's running out quickly. It's been a spirited run. He closed down a big gap, but looks like time's gonna run out, barring a major miscue from De La Torre.
2 corners to go for the TR3 Racing pilot. Elias De La Torre has won at Watkins Glen before. He did it twice last year. Will he do it again here in 2026? Race number 1 of the weekend. Newcomer Daniel Morad, along with Elias De La Torre, take the win in Lamborghini Super Trofeo at the Glen.
How about that? What a result for the team. For De La Torre, yet another win. And for Morad, that's about as good of a debut as you could draw up.
Absolutely, and he was absolutely magic from the beginning. Danny Formal, Graham Doyle, they keep the streak alive. A perfect 2026 season to date as they win at Watkins Glen and Pro-Am.
Great result for the pair of them. Great season up to this point. They just keep it rolling. And you thought coming into the year, you put a couple champions together from different classes, combine them in the Pro-Am class, and chances are you're going to get some great results. That's what we've seen out of this bunch so far. Meanwhile, how about Dean Newells, quietly, under the radar, comes to the lead in the AM class and sees the checkered flag first, his 2nd win of the season.
Good stuff there, and it's really easy to get lost in the battles that are happening up front. And you got to remember the 4 different classes. This man will remember this weekend.
Sure will. Rocky T. Baldock looking for his 4th consecutive podium finish, 2nd win of the season. He's under a bit of pressure, but Rocky T hangs on to take the checkered flag first at Watkins Glen.
Jay, a great job, because he had 2 sheds just back there. The car directly behind him was not in class, but Rocky T, what's he going to say about this victory, Ryan?
It's sweet, Brian.
It's sweet. I was hoping you were going to say that. And whoa. And this is the risk, right?
Yep.
As an official, you make that call to leave the 88 there. Should be covered by yellow flags. Drivers are to respect those yellow flags and know that car was there. But we've got the 12 off at the incident scene, and I'm sure there's going to be a conversation with this driver. Don't know how that happened, but that is the 12 car that is in the fence. That's Bullock. And a driver with a fair amount of experience and pole positions in class this weekend in the AM category. He won at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in race number 1, but he's had a problem here at the toe of the boot on the last lap.
And that's not what you want. When you've got the stranded car that had been there for a few laps. The drivers would have known that was there. It was covered by the local yellow. And like you said, we haven't seen what happened, but clearly this is going to be a bad result for Bullock, who has the win, but this will be his 3rd DNF of the season. So the highs have been high, but there have been some struggles too at times, and just hope that, well, I guess let's put it this way, lucky that we dodged a bit of a bullet there with the stranded car, and an incident in that corner that didn't collect the stranded car.
I'll tell you what, as a race car driver, you make decisions in tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, and try to make sure that you have the best result you can in the safest conditions. And Race Control does the same thing. They make decisions. They made the decision to leave the 88 there, and I don't think that it was necessarily a bad one, but yeah, kind of played a little dodgeball there at the end. Let's take a look at the unofficial results. There they are. Elias De La Torre, new teammate just for the weekend, but hey, when you bring in Daniel Morad and he helps you out in this way, you might try to find a way to get him back at some point in time as well. But tell you what, Lind is not a bad teammate either for Elias De La Torre. Trinka and Bamber right there. That keeps that championship in the pro category super hot.
It does, certainly. Big win again for Maul and Doyle. Then further down the order, we get to D. Newell's 14th overall, but another TR3 Racing win. So a couple for them to celebrate here this weekend.
Yeah, looking through, good competition there in the different categories. And then you go back, there's Touchette there in second place in LB Cup aboard the number 11. That keeps that championship close as well. And Bulldog becomes the first driver to win more than once so far this season in the LB Cup category. So he's on a good roll. And like you said, sweet victory here for him as he did last year.
Yep, here are some that had a tough day today. Torino probably deserved more than that. Looked like he had a podium car, if not more. Boucher, some misfortune. Same too for Porter and Chambers. Tasca had the issue early on. And not sure what happened to Ernie Francis and company there with Breathless Racing. Berkeley as well, but credited with 41st and last in the overall order.
Well, you know what's great about Lamborghini Super Trofeo in North America is that you don't get just one race on a weekend. You get two races, and we've got another race coming up at 5:10 tomorrow, so race number 2 of the weekend. And we've got a lot to go. From Watkins Glen, we go to Road America, the doubleheader there, then the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we end the season at Monza for the World Championships. There's Morad. He's already out of his, is he already out of his driver's suit? He's got his vest on, celebrating. Tell you what, never disappointed with the racing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, Ryan. 41 cars really heats things up.
Yeah, it was a fun opening stint. We really got to see the pace out of some of the cars. Then everything got reset with the yellow, and it was a mad dash to the checkered from there. Well,
and it's just what you expect with Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. We'll do it all again tomorrow. For Ryan Marine, I'm Brian Till. We'll see you tomorrow, 5:10, for race number 2 of the weekend at Watkins Glen for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America.